some corporate buzzwords that are confusing the hell out of everybody and none of us know what to do. Hi, I'm Sylvia, an organizational psychologist, and by now you know that I love to challenge corporate practices. Not because I love to rebel, but I want everybody's life to be easier and better. And today we are talking about two particular words and buzzwords that are making leaders' life a misery. And as a result, they don't know what to do, and that impacts their employees. So employees don't always blame the leaders. They are also taken down the spot that they are just wandering around like Alice in Wonderland, not knowing where the hell they are going or what they are supposed to do or how to be. So let me start it. I had an interaction today, this week, with a young girl from the region. She's in her 20s probably. And when she was talking, it was all about corporate. She was spitting out the corporate textbook. And I'm looking at her, listening. I'm like, oh my God, what the hell are we doing with people? Why have we brainwashed them to a degree that now they can't even find their own words to express themselves? She was supposed to be talking about herself. And she was talking about these big words, transparency, transformation, supportive, and all that bollocks that we are talking about. And you know what the problem is when people can't express themselves? We don't know if it's them or it's just a persona that is talking to us. So then, and we start talking about authenticity, right? Well, corporations made sure that none of us are authentic and we have all disappeared because we have been brainwashed with these corporate buzzwords and corporate stuff that we need to pay attention to. Now, today, let's talk about empathy and kindness or kind that leaders are struggling with. I wrote 2 articles this week and I'm going to put it below because I just keep hearing from LinkedIn empathy and kindness. And here's the thing. When you ask these gurus who are talking about leaders need to be empathetic, kind. Okay, tell me, what does it mean? What does it look like? Define it for me. There is never an answer. So let's dive into it. And you can apply that to so many different areas, these unmeasurable competencies at work. And you can ask the same questions, right? When Debbie came up with that we all need to be strategic thinker. Now, how on earth are you going to measure that one, right? Or I should be having, a good communication. What does it even mean, right? Now, but let's come back to empathy and kindness, because I literally just messaged 2 of my friends. One of them is a clinical psychologist. She's coaching senior leaders, and the other is an executive coach. She's also coaching other senior leaders. And I sent them these 2 articles, and they were like, oh my God, yes. I'm just struggling with my leaders because none of them know what they are supposed to do. They are lost. And with these words and how does it look like in their role? And because we were given these false narratives that, this is how, first of all, let's start with that. There is no recipe how leaders should be, okay? And when somebody tells you this is the recipe how good leaders are, this is a straightforward, clear red flag because there is no such a recipe, there is no such a scientific evidence, and there is no support of this argument at all. So I always say you don't need a competency framework, a leadership capability framework. What you need is, to tell people how to be. Instead, support leaders to find out who they are, and based on that, develop their leadership style. How the way they are impacting their team, their work, and work with that. Rather than start molding people into different leaders, this is what you should have. It's not a bloody shopping cart. The shopping is done. This is me. Mother Nature, God, whoever want to believe, done the shopping. It's done. can we use these ingredients so I can be a better fit for the role? Because the moment you start changing people, this is where the whole game goes down. And I don't know why corporations don't understand these very basics, right? So HR, protect your people, your leaders, your employees from these nonsenses because it's hurting your employees. Now let's start with toxic empathy narrative, right? That is really hurting leaders. You have no idea how much time we spend during coaching sessions and leadership workshops, just reassuring leaders and answering questions about empathy and really reassuring them that you do have empathy. Why? Because we were told so many times, you need to be empathetic, you need to be empathetic. What is the message? That I am not. Nobody has ever said, but that's the message, that we are not empathetic, right? And then we start looking for, so we were not told that we are not empathetic, but we are constantly told that we need to be. So that's already a disorientation, we don't know what to do, right? And plus, we have never been reassured when we were empathetic that, hey, this is the one. So we don't even know what it looks like, right? Because if you are teaching children, this is what kindness is. When the kid takes a glass of water to the next kid and give it, this is the one, this is beautiful. So we know what it is, right? But we are never told that this is empathy as a leader. Fantastic, do more of that. So we have no bloody idea, leaders. So, but let's go to conditions, for example, because this is how I always guide leaders. I'm like, look, you don't need to worry about, you all have empathy. It's not very likely that one of you is suffering from lack of empathy or complete loss of empathy or non-existent. So I always start with them that, what are the conditions? Narcissistic personality disorder, sociopaths, psychopaths, borderline personality disorder. I'm just reading in here from my note. I'm going to put it in the link below. Machiavellianism, I can't pronounce this word, sorry for that. And, autism. So if you are not falling into any of these categories, you're good. You have empathy. But this is how you can have that conversation with your corporate gurus when they talk about empathy and when they make you feel really bad the next time when they say, oh, we need to be empathetic. Ask questions. And here are the questions, and I will put the links in there so you can use them. And these are the questions that you can ask, and they're going to walk away because they will not have any answer to it. Can you show me the scientific evidence of the importance of empathy to be a successful leader in this particular job, team, and under this particular condition? How much empathy do I need? Where is the literature, the studies supporting that? What type of empathy do I need? Cognitive, emotional, compassionate? Which one? How much of each? Is there such a recipe? If empathy is so important, why don't we measure that during recruitment or as part of a leadership development program? Psychology has the tools to do that. So why don't we do that? If it's so important, because we know that what is important, KPIs, we measure them. But these are not important things, otherwise corporations would measure the hell out of it, right? If you don't know how each leader measures, so the lack of measurement too, right? We don't know actually what is the scale. Are we empathetic? No, we're like, which one is that? If you don't know how each leader measures on the empathy scale, how can you tell them that they need to be more empathetic? How can we expect them to improve when there is no measurement of it? Is it the subjective opinion of the manager? This is Debbie's subjective opinion about Sylvia, how good she is. How empathetic, how strategic thinking, how kind, how emotionally intelligent. Now that's another one we confuse. That was my clinical psychologist message, that she's dealing with empathy and emotional intelligence. And leaders say, I don't understand this bloody emotional intelligence. What am I supposed to do? Now here is the trick. I was not meant to put this in here, but here is the trick with how I always get people with emotional intelligence when they want to say, Sylvia, you have to have emotional intelligence. I'm like, okay, that's very good. So I always reveal the fact that I'm very high on the emotional intelligence test. I score 89 to 92%. So I'm highly emotionally intelligent according to the assessment, the test. I have done several. But here is the thing. Emotional intelligence, first of all, is highly questioned in the world of psychology because they are relating it to IQ and the G factor, which is your general cognitive ability. Now, because understanding how I feel, that's IQ. Understanding how other people feel, that's intuition, IQ, and other social skills, right? Understanding how I make others feel and doing it on purpose, that's IQ. So I can be highly emotionally intelligent and want to piss you off, and I'm gonna do it, and you are going to say, Sylvia, you upset her, you're not emotionally intelligent. Well, guess what? I am, because I wanted to upset her, and therefore I did what I did. So IQ or EQ, that's also another conversation that you can take them into this street that has no exit and leave them there. And okay, here is your EQ, you deal with that. Here is your empathy, you concentrate or consider and contemplate on all the aspects that I just mentioned for you. And you leave them there. You should not be judged and measured and thrown into when they can't even define these things. They can't measure it. They can't establish where you stand on that scale, but you're constantly forced this narrative, you need to be better. Dude, can you at least measure me and then tell me that I need to be, maybe I'm perfect already. If you come to me with EQ, I'm going to throw you my assessment to you. So when you start asking these questions, I guarantee you that they will not have answer. They will not have answer, and your conversation will end up here. So that's for the empathy. Ask those questions. How much do I need? Which one? How? And empathy is highly dependent, or the foundation of empathy is also genetic. So are you now expecting me to change my genetic? Or to change my behavior? So now you're asking me to pretend that I care about or feel about something or someone. Which leads to my next article that I just wrote today as a response to one senior leader on LinkedIn who did not give specific examples, but gave a lecture on how leaders should be kind. And when I ask questions, what does it mean? And I'm going to ask or read it for you, and then you can use these questions when they come to you, that, oh, you need to be kind. When I ask those questions, there is no answer. When I ask the question, can you please define the term kind for me, so I understand the context of the conversation that we need to have, and also what I need to do as a leader, as an employee, as a whoever. They can't even, they teach you about things, a topic, that they can't even define the term. This is the most ridiculous. So never listen to anyone. Always check what the hell are these people about, right? So, these buzzwords. Now, so I asked this person on LinkedIn, okay, what does kind look like when the person, so if you are a leader, right? And these are the things that leaders are struggling with. These specific examples that they are asking us. What does kind look like when the person, an employee, constantly underperforms? When an employee always has some personal problems that impact others at work? When the person had 32 days sick leave in the past 6 months, which severely impacted others? Now, of course, there is no answer to these questions, because all they can say is, listen to people, think what they are going through and be understanding. To which I always reply, okay, but for how long? While I'm listening and being considerate to this person, am I being not kind and circumstances? Am I letting down the rest of the team? Am I being unkind to the team when I'm kind to one, right? How does it impact the rest of the team when I'm catering for that one person? Am I being kind to them by allowing John not to perform and impact others or the organization because he's going through a divorce? When I'm kind to, be kind to whom? To the employees, to the individuals, to the team, to the organization? Because as a leader, I cannot think for Sylvia because she has a problem, right? So, individual or the collective? Who can I be? Who am I supposed to be kind to? How much kindness is enough? Too much or too little? Because we know that everything is in extremes and not really good. So what is the scale? Once again, who set up this scale? If there is any scale, how can we ask, right? If we can't measure it, could it be that kindness is expressed differently by everybody? Which one is the right one and why? What does kindness look like in every situation? Does kindness mean telling the truth? Organizations are paddling in murky waters with these vague platitudes and phrases and corporate buzzwords that they can't even define. Well-being, mental health, engagement, whatever they are. Just ask the question, can you please define? Next time when you have this conversation, when they're coming to you, we have this initiative, we have this is how we would everybody to be, integrity, whatever it is. Ask, please define it so I know what is the conversation that we need to have. And there will be no answer to that. And then go into, okay, how much of that I need? How much of kindness do I need? Says who? Based on what? This is where you need people with background who actually studies and takes everything apart these corporate gurus are singing and making money out of, because the alternative is that you have confused workforce, confused leadership, who are walking around the shadow of themselves because now they cannot do anything because they are scared that they will be perceived as unkind, not empathetic, and toxic. Now, we love that label, right? So, yes, as a result, leaders are so confused and they have no idea what to do, because the moment they express authority, because they don't break down over Brenda's dying cat, because Brenda always has a story, in her personal life or whatever happens to her. You always have these employees that everything happens to them. And then they create stories and all that. So where is the kindness? How does kindness look like with these guys? Does it mean that we entertain their victimhood, their suffering, their struggle and misery? How long? At to whose expense? Because I, as a leader, I will not choose one person over the collective, if that's the choice. Because that's not leadership. That's wanting to be liked by individuals, but that's not leaders. So, and the moment these leaders are not behaving the way we were told that you need to be, they are labeled toxic and all sorts, so they don't do anything. They don't make decisions. They let the team on the chaos. They let Brenda and whoever create that chaos, and now everybody is tiptoeing around their feelings and emotions and what is happening, and your car broke down, and there's something always. I had colleagues like that. Always something. They are always in the spotlight and everybody has to tiptoe around them. Now here is the truth. Nobody cares. Nobody cares, especially if you have problem constantly, because that just doesn't really happen. People have enough problems to deal with themselves. That keeps them occupied. But it doesn't mean that people are not kind or empathetic. In fact, most of us are 99%, 95% of the population. Let's put it this way: statistics, right? let's say 90% of the population are nice people, good people, with kind people, and with empathy. But we don't understand empathy. We don't understand that there are three different types of empathy, right? We just understand empathy, the emotional one, that you start crying, oh, what's happened to you? But that's not what it is all about. There's compassionate, there's cognitive. I'm more on compassionate and cognitive. Come to me, I will sort your problem, but I'm not going to cry with you. Now, is that recognized in organizations? Have we sat down with leaders and helped them to identify what type of empathy they are most dominant in and how they use that on a daily basis so they can actually come back to Debbie in Thailand and say, Debbie, don't give me your bullshit. I have empathy, but I'm not the emotional one. This is how I use my cognitive or compassionate empathy, right? And kindness is exactly the same. People are kind. People will help you, because how does dictionary define kindness, right? Is that you are generous, you pay attention to people's feelings, and you are helpful. These are the three descriptions. Most people I know will help you. Generous with what? With their time to listen to your bullshit? Maybe not so much. We don't have the time, right? Generous with what? Some will help you. Some will help you when you really have a problem. Some will help you with things they can empathize with, because we can't empathize with everything. We don't have the cognitive and emotional capacity to be empathetic and to care about everything and everybody. So this narrative that you need to care about me, this individualistic approach in organizations, and this is brought in by Gen Z. I love you, but we need to talk about it, because that's just not working. This is a narcissistic approach, because when you're working on a team, the team comes first. Now, it doesn't mean that we disregard and ignore everything that the individuals need. That's the balance that we need to do constantly and act. And it's difficult, especially for leaders, right? Because you know what? Sometimes when that person's circumstances is not compatible with what the team needs, the leader needs to make a decision to fire that person, because that one individual is negatively impacting the team. And if the leader is scared to do this, what are the alternatives? The entire team is suffering? Is this what we want with the individualistic, narcissistic approach that, hey, everybody must consider how I feel and everybody must adjust themselves to make sure that I feel good? Now, if this is what makes you feel good, then your life is miserable. Because guess what? This approach that everybody needs to adjust so I'm good, that shows me internal chaos. And it's never going to work. It's the same approach that we teach people not to bully others instead of teaching people how to protect themselves against bullies. Because guess what? You can't control what the others are saying. So this narcissistic approach, self-centeredness, that, people need to consider how I feel and, they need to understand my circumstance. We do. We absolutely do. People do that. People are nice. They help each other. They consider, they make accommodations and adjustments. But for how long? And to whose detriment? How long do I need to consider Brenda's dying cat before it impacts my team? Right? All of us have problems. But my question is, when did we label or demonize that me being strong and carry my cross, which is basically life's everyday's burden, right? Things happen to all of us, silently and with pride and with dignity, and nobody knows what I'm going through, and I'm not impacting the others with my problems. Because this is me, this is my type of behavior. I never burden anyone unless I must, because I don't have a choice. And I deal with myself, my problems, I never share it, and you know what, this corporate narrative, another one, which is the vulnerability bullshit, that leaders also suffer from vulnerability, because we ask them, be vulnerable. Now guess what? They will not be, because it's ego, it's self-esteem, it's prestige, it's their title. And be vulnerable in front of who? My coach, one-to-one, my team, 5 people, or the entire company. They will never going to be, and I would never force leaders to be vulnerable because that can be detrimental to their career. And then we push them to be these weak, vulnerable, crying men. Just look at social media, it's full of crying men. So going back to that, when did we demonize being strong? And now everybody has that urge to talk about the smallest, slightest inconvenience that they went through, and sharing, and you tell people that this is strong, but vulnerability is strong, and sharing your burden and problems. But when I look at it this way, and I'm not religious, don't misunderstand. When I say carry your cross, it's nothing to do with religion, but carry the weight that you were given. That is strong. You alone carry the weight that you are given. I'm not talking about not to ask for support, because this is why you have your friends and family. We all need support. But when you start sharing your cross, and now the entire team of yours at work is carrying, you're not being strong just because you are vulnerable. You are actually being weak because you can't carry what you were given. So none of that makes sense, you guys. None of that makes sense. And no leader and no employees can navigate well in this system where words are not used according to their definitions, words are misunderstood, words are thrown around, cannot be explained, and we change the meaning of words. Vulnerable. That I'm going to make another article about vulnerability and leadership, because this is the biggest bullshit. You do not want your leaders to be vulnerable. First of all, you need to define it for me even before I start responding to that, because we don't know what that means. Am I supposed to cry? Am I supposed to share that my wife left, that my children hate me, that I'm a womanizer, that I'm a gambler? What am I supposed to do as a leader to show you that I'm vulnerable? Now you see, I find these words like, and then even the Saudi girl, I think, said a month ago that, leaders need to be vulnerable. And I'm like, lady, use your brain. God gave you one, okay? And no, don't buy into it. Pick up on these words that they are asking you to be. And just ask clarification. Tell me, what does it mean? What does it mean, empathy? What does kindness look like? What does vulnerability look like? Because I am not sure I want to be vulnerable. I want to see vulnerable leaders walking around. Once again, you need to define it for me before even I can argue with it, because I don't know what you mean. So nobody can navigate this system well. So as a result, nobody is doing anything. As a result, nobody is saying anything. And the woke brigade brought this into organization, this narcissistic me. And we have bullied everybody to care about us. Now, if you are lonely and you don't have anybody to care for you and about you, maybe it's not the organization's job. And HR, protect your leaders and employees from this behavior, because whoever I talk to, they said, look, I don't care. I want to do the job. And it doesn't mean when they say, I don't care, that I disregard and I don't care about anybody. Once again, human beings are good human beings. When they know intuitively and instinctively he or she needs help, they will be there. And I have seen it millions of times. And this is what we don't do in organization. Actually pointing out, Brenda, you were fantastic, you helped her. John, you were fantastic, you had this, nobody does that. We just constantly push, you need to care about, you need to do. But we can't mention one thing that we actually saw that other people is caring about, because I know these small little gestures when somebody is sick and the other one is making a cup of tea. Why don't we talk about that? That is empathy, that is kindness. I get worked up. You know why? Because people, once again, being treated unfairly and not well. Because when you are saying things to people that makes them feel inadequate, makes them feel not measuring up to God knows what, I don't even know what, and they can't even figure out how to get there, I think it's not fair. So I always say, be fair to everyone at work, right? Help if you can, and that's that. And don't hurt anybody. Don't hurt. These 3 rules. Be fair, don't hurt anyone, and help if you can. But you know what? People are very oriented, even their empathy and kindness is oriented towards different things, right? So I'm going to care more about these 5 people. You're going to care about these 5 people. I'm going to be empathetic to this kind of topic. You're going to be empathetic towards this kind of topic. You're going to show kindness towards this particular situation. So if we all pick up our responsibility and just follow what we naturally empathetic and kind towards and interested in, we all going to be covered, because somebody will care for us and about us. You will care about other people. And you know what? That's all we need. We don't need everybody to care and consider everyone. It's impossible. So as a result, we don't do any of those. And just to close with this false narrative that LinkedIn is really good at pushing down, and the delusion that it creates in an organization. I mean, these, sound good posts, but doesn't have any reality. Is this one these posts, they drive me crazy. Before that, if you want more of those things that don't make any sense at corporations, in my book, The Blind Leading the Disengaged, I have 365 topics that makes no sense. That make no sense. So you can change your organization one article at a time. You have 7 areas all the way from attracting talent to departing talent, so along the employee's life journey. But what demonstrates this narcissistic and delusional, the level of delusion in organization, this post, when they say they don't care about you because if you died on the same day, they would empty your desk, they would post the job advertisement by afternoon. What do you actually expect with this post? Or what is in your head? That the whole organization is going to sit around for 6 months? What would be a reasonable time? So you feel valued and important and that we care about. Is it for 6 months? Don't replace and feel that position. Make sure by not filling this position, you are going to burden another 10 person in the team. By not filling this position, you are going to jeopardize thousands of customers' experiences, therefore the revenue of the company. Is it kind? Is this what you want? So this narrative, life goes on. And it doesn't mean that people don't care about you, but it means that we understand that life goes on. So when next time you post this bullshit that they don't care about you because if you die, they would replace you within a day, also put a small print. My expectation would be a period of 3 months not to fill the position, so that would show me that they cared about me. But then I'm going to reply with the consequences of not replacing your position for 3 months on the rest and see who is kind or who can talk about kindness and empathy here. Leaders, employees, don't let yourself to be dragged down into these rabbit holes because that's all corporate brainwashing. These words are being thrown around and probably come up with consultants and training freelancers who are making money out of, which is the word we can make money out of that the corporation had not thought about, and then they find a way to do that. You all have empathy, you are all kind, And I'm not so sure what vulnerability means at this moment, but we will talk about it. And I'm sure when you need to have, you need to be vulnerable, and I have seen it even in strongest men, they know how to be vulnerable. So don't fall for this bullshit, because they are ruining your self-esteem. You're ruining your self, even they alter your self-awareness, because now you start questioning yourself. Am I not empathetic? Am I an asshole? Am I really that horrible? So be careful how you talk to people and what you are telling them, because you are actually causing damage. And that's why I don't like these corporate narratives, because if you don't do good, at least don't hurt others. And some of these narratives are hurting employees. That's it. That's it for me. I need to go for my walk. So I hope it helped. Next time we talk about something else, and watch the previous video on employee well-being and the 10 questions you should be asking about that, because they are dragging you down on that part too. And that really drove me absolutely bonkers. I could have 20 more questions, but the topic is not that interesting for me. So I'm like, okay, this is all. I took it apart very quickly. Nothing adds up. Go and watch it. It's all about employee well-being and the questions you should be asking. And just arm yourself against them. Arm yourself, because it's going to impact you, your mental health and your well-being. And this is what they are trying to address.